What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Your guys, Derek and Cody, with you as always. Guys, we're breaking down position groups here, and we're going to start off hot with the running back room. It has seen quite a bit of turnover here throughout a season, the offseason in particular. Leading the way is Jonathan Taylor, but there's some interesting names behind it. What will their roles be? What will they look like? What can they do to help this team going forward? But, of course, Cody, you have to start with the number one guy in the running back room, and that has to be JT, Jonathan Taylor, one of the best running backs in the NFL. Last year, I know he had his ups and downs, even had, a few moments where people were very upset with Jonathan Taylor and also dealing with a few injuries. But also, Cody, I don't think a lot of people realize Jonathan Taylor actually did run for over 1,300 yards last year, which is crazy to think about given the circumstances surrounding, again, he had all the injuries and he had a whole bunch of other things going on. But Jonathan Taylor continues to be the workhorse back in this offense. What's your thoughts on Jonathan Taylor going into another year here?
Yeah, my biggest concern with JT has just been the nicks and, things across the season. Like you said, he played in 14 games a year ago, which is actually his highest since 2021, where he led the league in rushing. So you got to make sure, he's right. And you're hopeful that the guys we'll talk about here in a minute will help him in those ways, right? Will help take some of the load off for JT, because over 300 carries. This is the first time, like I said, since 2021 where Jonathan Taylor had over 300 carries. He's only done it twice. Last year was one of those two. So you got to make sure that he is right. Over 300 carries, Derek, and he missed 3 games. So you just got to think like, how Frank Reich talked about how the Colts too much relied on JT in 2021. He probably would have had more carries, frankly, in 2024 if he would have been healthier and played in 17 games. So you got to make sure you manage that a little bit better, and hopefully some of the guys you brought in will help do that. But yeah, what do you? Jonathan Taylor, one of the best backs in football, over 1,400 yards, 11 rushing touchdowns. Just a stud all the way around when he was rushing the football, and just did a little bit of everything for you, and just continues to be one of the best pure runners in the NFL. He's just second to none. There's very few backs that have the gear that JT does, and he's just an absolute monster back there when he gets a full head of steam. And especially, Derek, when you kind of look down the stretch at Jonathan Taylor's games, I don't know if you kind of look down his game log a little bit, but once you do a little bit longer, it felt like as the season went on, JT just continued to get stronger. Like he just continued to just really, really go on a tear there. And I thought that he just was overall really was starting to find himself, near the end of that season. It's just a shame that the team wasn't able to go to the playoffs because JT was really starting to get his own. In that last game against Jacksonville, he was absolutely unstoppable. Nobody could come close to JT, and nobody could even touch JT in that game. So, yeah, all that to say, man, Jonathan Taylor, like you said, one of the best running backs in the NFL for sure. And, just the guy that, you can put into your offense and is going to be an instant impact. And again, Derek, like he is going to be what your offense runs through for another season. He has to be. He's just that good of a running back. I actually have the stats pulled up here. The final 3 games, Derek, against Tennessee, 218 yards, against New York, 125, and against Jacksonville, 177. So you see right there, JT was really starting to find himself, and I didn't even mention the game before that against Denver. He had over 100 yards as well. So he was really finding himself, with 4 straight 100-plus yard games and 1 200-plus yard game. So, yeah, he's an absolute stud, man. The only problem with JT outside of the injuries is sometimes some of the mental errors you talked about, especially it seems like on third down in pass situations, there's been some issues, with JT at times. There's been some issues with some pass pro and, some of the stuff like that. But overall, from a pure runner standpoint, there's very few players like Jonathan Taylor. He's an absolute stud.
Yeah, no doubt. Jonathan Taylor, the weight he carries And 100% when he's the focal point of the offense, the offense seems to be able to have a second gear, and they're able to be more effective when he is doing his thing. So really great to have Jonathan Taylor back for another year. But now we got to focus on the guys that are behind him. And that is really going to be the ultimate question here of who is going to be that running back two when the season gets going. And we're going to discuss those next two names here. And the first one we will discuss is Khalil Herbert. And he actually is from Cincinnati. His last team, he was previously with the Bears before them. A lot of people really like Khalil Herbert, Cody, and you and I were definitely very high on Khalil Herbert when that signing came on, because he has shown when he's been a feature, he's been really good for both the Bears. I don't really think he did much with Cincinnati, just because Cincinnati really didn't do a whole lot with him at that time. But again, Khalil Herbert showed you in Chicago, and that was also in a Chicago team where the offense was really stagnant. It's not going to be stagnant anymore, but when he was there, that offense was extremely stagnant, but yet was still able to average over 4.5 yards a carry as the featured back for Chicago at that time. So you got a guy who, again, he doesn't really have a whole lot of explosive attributes, but this is a guy that definitely knows how to run the football. He is very efficient, and that could definitely be the reins to being a running back too for this Indianapolis Colts team.
Yeah, I mean, Khalil Herbert, like the last time he actually got an extended role was in 2023 with the Chicago Bears, where he had 132 attempts and averaged over 6.5 yards per carry, almost 7 yards per carry, Derek. And then last year, like we talked about, was with Chicago for 6 games, got traded to Cincinnati and only got 28 touches on the year. So, he definitely is a guy that I think if you give him the football, you give him some touches, he can definitely be very efficient in those ways. I mean, it's crazy, Derek, because JT's a little bit like taller, but Khalil Herbert's only 5'9", but he's 215. So he's kind of that low center of gravity guy that's so hard to take down. And he's got a little bit of everything. He can do some stuff out of the backfield on third down. Yeah, Khalil Herbert, I think, has an opportunity here, like you said, as RB2. And like we said, with JT and just wanting to give him some snaps to, have some much-needed R&R at times, I think it's important to have a player like Khalil Herbert to come in, a player who has been proven when he actually has a role in a team, he can be efficient. And, that's, like you said, that's a Chicago team that really struggled with their identity on offense for a lot of years. So Khalil Herbert was still efficient in that system, regardless of that. So you just wonder, what are the ways that Shane Steichen could potentially use Khalil Herbert to help spell JT and do some things and create some mismatches and things like that. So, yeah, I think Khalil Herbert has a great chance here to have a good role with this team. And, we like this idea of, that running back by committee. Obviously, JT is going to be the guy. But if you can really get a player like Khalil Herbert averaging, heck, even 5 yards a carry, like that's going to help you out so much. If he's doing what he did in 2023, you might have no choice but to give him more snaps, Derek, if he's that efficient. So, yeah, I really like Khalil Herbert. I've liked his game so far. I mean, he's, really been in Chicago most of his career, and pretty much every time he's gotten an opportunity, Derek, he has been very effective in the few touches he's gotten with the Bears over the last couple seasons there.
Yeah, or do we have another running back to candidate here? The wild card, as a lot of people would say, the 5th-round pick from this last year's draft, DJ Giddens out of Kansas State. A lot of Colts fans, Cody, wanting the Colts to take a running back this year in the draft. And the Colts did take one, DJ Giddens. And a lot of people who thought DJ Giddens should have probably gone earlier. But he didn't. He fell in the lap of the Indianapolis Colts in the 5th round, and they just had to take him. Again, a guy 6 foot, 210 pounds, a very well-built running back, and a guy that has been ultra productive in Kansas State. his last two seasons, both seasons ran for over 1,200 yards in both of them, and is a guy that doesn't really have that home run ability, but he certainly is a guy that can create what would normally be a single and turn it into a triple just like that. I mean, this is just a guy that, makes plays happen with his feet. He is as shifty as they come, agile as they come, super patient behind the line, finding the hole, and is able to just make people miss in the open field. So this is a type of player, he's got that X factor, Cody. He's that type of guy that, you can throw in there for a bunch of different looks, and he's going to be that guy you want to get out into space. And so when you look at the opportunities that DJ Giddens can provide you, does that potentially give him a boost over Khalil Herbert as a running back number 2?
I definitely think it's an opportunity there for him too. I definitely think it's wide open for that RB2. Like you said, DJ Giddens is a kind of different kind of runner than Jonathan Taylor, right? Taylor can, he's a do-it-all guy, whereas I feel a lot more Marlon Mack vibes from DJ Giddens, right? He's not the biggest guy in the world. He's not the fastest guy in the world, right? He doesn't have these crazy elite, like he's still very athletic, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't have these, rare blue chip talent like JT sort of talent. He doesn't. Like, he's not as big, he's not as strong, he's not as fast. But he is extremely patient, like you said. He's does a little bit of everything. I mean, he's still got that athleticism for sure. He's very productive. I mean, he's definitely explosive. Don't get me wrong. Not Jonathan Taylor is just a rare form of explosive, but DJ Giddens is very explosive as well. I mean, he had very strong production, in the last 2 years at Kansas State. Very, very elusive where he needs to be. And also, Derek, another thing, he is very secure with the football. I have a stat here. He only had one fumble over the last 2 years. And mind you, that's with, 2 years where he was the feature guy. I mean, Derek, that's over 400. That's about 430 touches that he got, rushing attempts, only one fumble in that time. So, yeah, he's very secure with it. He's patient. I guess what he struggles in at, with some of the, elite stuff, he makes up for with just his prowess running the football. His vision is just second to none. So I really think it could be a nice compliment, right? And I think a lot of people hoped like Marlon Mack and JT would be. Remember when Jonathan Taylor got drafted in 2020? We thought, oh, this could potentially work, right? And then, it never did pan out. So could DJ Giddens be that type of back? I'm very intrigued to see what his role is here in his rookie season with competing, for that RB2 spot. But I certainly think this guy has an opportunity here, especially like we said on third down, where we talked about how, JT struggled at times. Well, I think DJ Giddens has a little bit more upside. And yeah, he wasn't great in pass pro a year ago, but we forget he was injured and he still did what he did, Derek, last year at Kansas State. So what can a fully healthy DJ Giddens do? I'm very intrigued to see exactly what that looks like for him here as a rookie. And can he potentially challenge for that running back 2 position? I think there's a good chance he can.
All right. Well, another guy who has seen some significant snaps over the last several years with, the running back room being so wide open with injuries and guys being, traded away and whatnot. Not really traded away, but going away in free agency, is Tyler Goodson, who's now sitting at the number 4 spot in the running back room. And believe me, I still believe that there's a good spot for a Tyler Goodson. Do believe that there will be some chances for him. Obviously, some injuries will likely happen, so he'll be the next guy up in line to really take over one of those spots. But what do you think, Cody, for a Tyler Goodson? What kind of role do you think he plays now? Is there really a role for a Tyler Goodson here? Because, what you brought in with DJ Giddens and obviously the durability of a Khalil Herbert, I mean, what is Tyler Goodson's role at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to completely write off Tyler Goodson because, like you said, he's been on your team the last 2 years, and I think when he's actually gotten the ball, he's been fairly productive. I know everybody likes to focus on that drop. That's like the big thing that everybody thinks of when they think of Tyler Goodson. But if you take that away, you don't look at that. Like you look at the stats, he's been a really solid change of pace type of back. I honestly think he was a lot better last year than Trey Sermon, and it's kind of a bummer that Trey Sermon got more snaps of him at times and everything, but I do think he can fit well there as kind of that RB4. And, if something happens to one of your backs, knock on wood, like you have confidence to feel like from a depth standpoint, you can withstand it. And he's one of those guys that I really do feel like will give you that opportunity to do that. So, yeah, all I have to say, I would keep him around. I really would. I would roll with 4 running backs if you can, because I think Tyler Goodson's a valuable piece to have for a depth standpoint. I mean, obviously you feel like he's going to be 4, but he could challenge. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen there? But I like Tyler Goodson, all to say. And I think that if he needs to step up, he can. Like we saw more in 2023 when he had to step up. He can do it, when you need him to. But I do think kind of that RB3, RB4 is kind of where I like him a little bit more because I never want to have to rely on him to get a ton of snaps. But from a depth standpoint, absolutely. Love to have a Tyler Goodson.
All right. And then obviously we rounded out with some guys that I presume you and I would think are going to be practice squad guys, Salvin Ahmed and Ulysses Bentley the fourth. Any other running backs that you think the Indianapolis Colts, potentially give a chance to, or is that just about it for where Tyler Goodson's sake is?
Yeah, I think the rest of them are probably going to be practice squad guys, unless the guy completely comes out and just shocks everybody in camp. In my mind, I think we know the top 4 pretty easily at this point because all those guys have gotten, significant snaps, whether it was in college, whether it was, at the NFL level. So I feel pretty good about that, especially the top 3. I mean, but I do still think that I do still think that Tyler Goodson's going to get 4. I don't think anybody's going to push him out of that. So I feel pretty confident about the top 4.
All right. Well, that's going to do it, guys. That's breaking down the depth chart for the running back room for the Indianapolis Colts going into it so far. Let us know your thoughts on this group and what kind of things you're looking for going into the season. But that's going to do it for this one. Thank you guys again so much for all the support. Football, less than a month away now, guys. We have training camp this month. And obviously the first scrimmage is this month too.
Let's go.
The NFL. So it's so close, guys. We're almost there. But thank you guys again so much. And as always, go Colts.